Sup, slut? What are you doing here?
It's kind of my room, David.
Yeah, this party blows. We should get out of here, go back to my place.
It's not really a party, it's just us in my house.
Could you just hold on one second?
Yeah.
Carry the 8. Okay. Yeah, it was a nice shirt. Like to see it on my bedroom floor.
The shirt I wear in like every other episode, and this is just an undershirt. It's not even remarkable, Dave.
Just one more second. Okay, 6%, 25. Okay. Hey, you want to suck my dick?
I think you skipped a chapter.
Really? Shit, you're right. Hold on, how do you know that?
It's my book.
Bad Dating Advice by Matthew Rowe.
You didn't read the disclaimer at the beginning saying that the book was a satire, did you?
I thought that it meant the disclaimer was the
How
satire.
would you think the disclaimer was a satire?
I don't know. But a lot of mistakes have been made over the past week.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry about that. I really am. It's just... dating is hard, man.
Yeah,
And I wish there was some sort of way to guarantee to get girls. I wish there was some sort of formula. We watched the movie today.
Yep. The formula.
Oh, you said it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's somewhere.
I don't
It's
know.
around here.
Fuck it.
The internet. Woo! It's everywhere.
What can we... Alright, should I go over plot before we say any opinions?
Yeah,
Any
go for plot
opinions?
first before we get into
Alright.
this, because this is going to be interesting this time, guys.
2 young engineering students are trying to make bank, pretty much. They're just trying to make their way through with a bit of money. They are just failing in their relationships entirely. And after getting friend-zoned by both of their respective girls, they put this new experiment into the works to create a formula for getting any girl they want. And so they do. And it works. They do it great. And they're able to just walk in and just take any girl they want. Married, engaged, probably lesbian. They didn't go into that, but I'm sure they could. And it's all seeming great. But then it comes to the girls that they actually want from before. And at that point, the formula fails for some reason. They don't...
But really, for some reason,
They
we
don't say why.
don't know.
So then they have to take... They realize, man, we're never actually going to be really happy. So they become some cynical assholes for the next, 3-4 scenes. And then they realize, look, we don't need them. We can be fine without them. And then they realize friendship is more important. And one of them just completely cuts the girl out of his life, and the other one realizes that they can just be friends, because that's all he really wanted. The end. I probably did that in a minute.
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah, that's fast.
Alright, now.
What did we think about this movie? It wasn't bad at all.
I enjoyed it.
It was...
There were
Dare
some
I say
parts of
good.
it. There were some parts of it that were legitimately very good.
The thing is, if you saw what we saw on this movie when it came to Netflix, it was the most stupid, just 3 hot girls on the poster, obviously photoshopped in.
I don't even think those people had anything to do with the actual movie.
They were just... It was all the way down at the bottom of, top rated.
Yeah.
It was dreadful from everything we could tell going in.
That's the funny thing is, actually, I'm surprised at how low on the list this movie actually was. Now, I will say, and I've said this before with David when we were watching the movie, it has a very, almost kind of like junior year of film school attitude going on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, you guys had some legitimate actors be in this thing, too.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the father from Family Matters?
Yes.
One, I think it was, yeah.
I can't remember the name of the character from Family Matters, but he's the cop. He's the guy.
He's funny as shit in this movie.
He is. He's not in a lot of it, but he's in there.
and the main actors and actresses in this movie have been in a bunch of other things. I mean,
some
of them have been in like a bunch of television shows and all that
Mhm.
stuff. One of them was in like One Tree Hill and all that. I think that was the
made the
person who was
rounds on
Amy.
the
Yeah,
drama
like
network.
at least one episode and everything. She gets consistent work, so bravo.
Hard to do.
And that's another thing about the actors too. There are parts where they're not great, which is primarily at the beginning of the movie.
Mhm.
But toward the end of the movie, things
Well,
like
here,
kind of
Let's
evolve.
let's go over exactly. Okay, so why? All right, let's bounce back and forth. What's something that we very much liked about this movie?
One, all right, this movie in its actual credits, in its actual credits, it says that it was directed by two different people. One person I can tell was the main force behind this because he was the co-director, he was the writer, and he was the editor, and all that jazz. So
Joe Clark.
yeah. So the thing is, though, I don't know who's who, but at the same time, though, there was a combination of scenes that were shot in a very standard way.
There was the two
Shot,
shots just
reverse
back.
shot, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. Ugh.
For like a straight 3 minutes, never breaking it.
Yeah,
That
but
stuff
then
was good.
there was other cinematography that was really innovative, that was really creative.
Mhm.
There was this one really long, like 2.5 minute,
Probably longer.
like tracking shot through a party and whatnot. I'm like,
Never once breaking.
though the camera in and of itself, the camera movement wasn't extraordinarily special, but all of the movement within the scene with the camera worked very well.
Oh, very.
These are people who have a very finite idea. Well, not, I wouldn't say finite. They have a very
Defined.
firm idea of what film language is. And I applaud you guys. You guys have already proved in this movie that you know more than half of well over 2/3 of the movies we've watched.
It was weird because, like we said, it was a bunch of shots that didn't work well, and then it was a bunch of shots that did.
Yeah.
And it was weird to see them juxtapose one right after another. I mean, maybe it wasn't two different directors. It was just one guy. Maybe he had a lot of time for certain shots and not a lot of time for other ones.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't have any idea. But it was definitely a clear line of, like, there was one point where they were just getting the formula to work. And, like, before this point, it was just, like, center of the frame, perfectly, two-shot, boring as fuck. But then they went into that, and it was, like,
Montage.
it was, like, rack-focused. It was, like, they were, like, on the sides of the frames. Some things were, like, blurred out to add different
Dutch angles.
dimensions. It was great looking. But, yeah, that was... It was odd to see. Now, something we didn't like about this movie.
This is a problem. This is one of the problems that I have with the core concepts of the film.
Oh, I think we should save that one for last. Because that's a major thing.
I don't know if you and I are thinking of the same thing.
But,
all right, we'll save the concept ideas for later. Then.
Yes. Okay, one thing we can mention about technical stuff. Sound.
Sound.
Everything they did right
And to be fair, I completely understand how much of a bitch it is to record sound. Check a look at our last couple movies. The sound has always been off. Believe me, we've tried so much. Sound is such an ass to try to film on location.
The problem is...
Some scenes are done well.
Oh, yeah, but that's just it. It's done decently enough that when it fails, it really fails. And really, it seems like it's the sort of scenes where they don't have the ability or they choose not to use a boom guy. Whenever we've noticed the sound being bad, it's always like in a car scene where it's like the mic is obviously just propped up inside the car. Or on a desk, the one guy sets his hands down and you can hear the mic like audibly adjust pretty much. And that's the kind of stuff where sound really had problems. Whenever it was on like a boom mic or in other scenes that we weren't positive at least,
For the
it was
most part, it was
fine.
fine.
Yeah, it wasn't amazing. Like we weren't like, dear God, I can hear every cricket chirping. This is astounding.
That's too good.
Yeah. It was the sort of thing with like editing. You don't notice it, and that makes it okay.
Yeah.
Something we liked about the movie. We got to give it up for the comedy. The comedy. It made funny jokes. It was at least partially improvised.
Yeah, we definitely could tell that it was improvised.
Well, we know that because there was a bloopers reel at the end, and they were saying different lines.
Well, it's more than just that. It's also how you see, because when it comes down to improvisation and staged acting, especially if you, like with me, if you've been like an editor where you have to look over every goddamn frame of any type of movie, you could tell how naturalistic some people are. And more improvised lines react more like the people themselves are actually saying it, as
Right.
opposed to reciting a script.
There isn't
So-
a lot of in a script. There's not a lot of like interruptions or talking over people. People get their ideas out very concisely and clearly. With improvised,
Mostly, yeah.
it definitely like meanders a little bit. It's more of human speech. You get a lot more uhs and
These guys play
Yes.
off of each other. I've had the vibe that the three main characters in the story, it had a very workaholics feel.
yeah.
Like they were trying to go for that aspect of the quirkiness between all these three different types of people. But, I mean, I don't think they pulled off that, but then again, that's something that's workaholics.
Yeah, it was strange, really, because
Or Broad
one
City.
of the breakout characters, and this was, in fact, all three of the characters of the main group.
Lee was a delight.
All the main three characters, as we started them, we were expecting just a god-awful movie. We were annoyed by these characters at
Yeah.
first. They were even the actors playing them, they were very plain talking. They were very obnoxious in their habits. They were just fucking, fuck.
And they just rambled, too. This was the part where the improvisation was a little too directionless.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, they played off of each other well, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the scenes themselves were effective.
No, not really. But then once they essentially got the formula down, it was very, I wouldn't say.
Talk about the math.
Oh, you want me to do that now?
Yeah, talk
All
about
right.
the math.
Let's hop into something we don't like. I am not going to say I know a whole lot about math, but I know a whole lot about the math they were talking about. None of this had anything to do with that, and that's nitpicking to the nth degree. Fine, but you could at least make something that looks like it. Basically, what they were doing in this movie is psychology. They were just trying to say, like, certain people react to certain things, and this is the way they do it. But the way they did it was r times the sine of theta divided
It's
by
a mathematical
pi.
equation.
The two things that really stand out to me is because they repeated it twice in the movie. They said, start with Euclid's Elements, then go to Archimedes' Principle. Now, if you know anything about math right off the bat, you see a problem with that. For people who don't, I'm going to go ahead and tell you. Euclid's Elements was back written in old Greek and Roman days. It defines all of math. Not literally everything, and it doesn't have any algebra and whatnot, but one of the earliest definitions in there is what a circle is. To say start with Euclid's Elements is basically the biggest oxymoron you could possibly have when it comes to math.
Everyone, without even realizing it, starts with Euclid's
Ever.
Elements.
Moving past that, the second thing, Archimedes' Principle, is about buoyancy, and that any object submerged in a liquid is pushing down with the force of the weight of the object, but is also being pushed back upon by the weight of the displaced liquid.
Thus, it determines volume.
Thus, not volume as much as how much it's
Well,
going to sink.
Density.
Yeah,
density.
more or less. It uses density.
Yeah.
How does that apply to talking to women?
How much
I don't-
drink that they have
I
to
don't-
guzzle down before
that's-
the mass and volume changes?
Does the olive sit on top of the alcohol or beneath it?
Or does it
That's-
infuse?
It's little things like that that are so nitpicky. Don't get me wrong; it's not at
I
all
mean,
defining the movie.
I feel that might be wrong with me, guys. If this is if you somehow come across this video and whatnot, and this is wrong, I kind of feel that the idea that I got from you guys naming off all these different types of principles is that you were kind of hoping that people
Nobody would know
didn't really think about it. It's like, oh, okay, they're doing smart stuff. And to be fair and whatnot, there's plenty of movies that probably works.
No, and don't get me wrong.
I don't know a goddamn thing about math. To be fair, if David wasn't here to talk about all that shit, I wouldn't have known that there was a difference.
And that's just it. It's so nitpicky. It doesn't affect
Yeah.
the movie at all.
No, it's still... Well, to be fair, though, it can affect your experience of the movie, because, this makes no sense, so they're not saying anything.
It could, but if I was that type of person, you wouldn't invite me back to this show. I would not be an enjoyable person to be around. So if that's something that affects your viewing experience, how's Life Without Friends? That's all I have to say to that.
Reminds me of the the theme song for MST3K is like if you wonder how he eats and breathes and other science facts, you remind yourself it's just a show, so you should probably just relax.
Exactly. It's the most nitpicky of things, but I just had to pause it for a second. I'm like, start with Euclid's Elements. Stop.
I mean, like, one of my nitpicky things with the movie we just did decide was that it didn't really show the really historically accurate Desaad. But then again, at the same time, that was the variation of the time it was made versus the audience it was applying to and all that jazz. There are so many elements that go into it. Hell, for all what we know, this cut of the movie that we saw could have become, is actually like a completely butchered copy of the movie that really actually was something completely different, but for some reason it became this. Either way.
Alright, moving on to something that we like. What else is there? Comedy is really an overarching thing. So it's kind of.
I mean, that kind of goes off of the combination of the writing of the script that was there, also the chemistry of the people on set and off set for them. I mean, on the camera and off camera, and also the actual the actors and the actresses themselves being funny people.
Yeah.
Because, like, you can write the funniest goddamn script, but if you don't have funny people to deliver the lines, it's not going to be funny.
And that was the problem we had at the beginning. I think some of the jokes were just sort of, I don't know, somewhat falling flat. Like, I don't know, maybe these people are very outgoing and charismatic in their normal lives. So when they had to play sort of taken
chauvinistic
back,
and conniving people.
Well, no, that's just it.
If they become that, right?
Yeah, but in the beginning, when they just sort of played like retracted, not good with ladies sort of things, and they were just totally not playing themselves, if that's the case, maybe that's why it didn't work so well for us. But once they really got into it, once their confidence got better, we liked the characters more. The formula worked on us. We liked them more when they had it.
It was funny, also, when one of the main characters, I never remember his name.
Graham or Lee or other one.
Or other one.
He's the main one, too.
Yeah.
He's the one that gets the most face time.
Yeah, I apologize.
No, whoops. I was looking
but
at
the,
just give me like 10 seconds. Keep talking.
The scene where he is, like, spiraling and he got shot in the foot with an arrow. Because they were hunting an African viper, like in their apartment. But
Quinn.
What?
Quinn. Quinn and Graham are the two main characters. Lee is the comedic relief to an already funny pair, so that's good.
So like Quinn, he wakes up. He's a substitute teacher, and he wakes up in the room, and he's just in his pajamas and whatnot, and like he just starts like tearing these kids up, and then he's just like, all right, I'm going to give you some lessons in real life. This reminds me so much of when Jack Black is doing it in School of Rock. He's like, you know what? Just quit. Give up. Because in this life, you can't make anything cool or original. And this guy is basically saying, there's no such thing as true love.
Well, they do.
At the very end of it and whatnot, it's like, and that's why life is pointless or something like that. And people start crying.
And he's like, thank you.
He's like, thank you.
It's been my pleasure.
Have a good day. He's like, and then later on, he's like, I might have ruined 20 kids' lives. I'm like, fantastic. That was great.
There was one point, same character. He goes and he is about to like profess his love for the girl he wants, and he manages to find her on the street. And he's like, look, I saw you, and every moment I spend with you makes me happy, and I needed to tell you. And then this dude comes out from bar, and he's like, did you guys know that John Adams and John Quincy Adams were related? And we're like, who the fuck is this guy? And he's like, who the fuck is this guy? And the girl...
Yeah, he's mashing us. He's like, who the fuck is this guy?
The girl was like, oh, Quinn, this is my... And then
he's like, are you serious?
Are you serious? Him?
Like, the guy's like, you need a hug?
No!
And then he's like,
and comes back and he's like,
so much corduroy. So much corduroy.
I think the humor from this really derives from the fact that it just keeps on subverting what we expect in the scene.
I want to get to the concept, ideas, and whatnot.
Something we didn't
I want to try to wrap the whole thing. Because the thing is, though, like, especially when movies that aren't particularly really bad, we don't have a whole lot to gripe about. And you guys, for some reason, like us going into pure pain for this stuff. So we're not going to have a whole lot to say. Yeah, I know you like that, but I'm not a masochist. I'm a sadist. No. But at the same time, one of the core concepts in the movie that really got on my nerves, at least in the beginning, I don't like. At the end, it kind of works well, but it's the idea that the friend zone is a bad place.
It's okay.
Now,
Yeah.
my core idea when it comes to this, ladies, the friend zone does exist. Don't kid yourselves and whatnot. We're all fully aware of that. However, fellas, just because this is the fact does not mean this is a bad thing. If you simply view women as just a means to an end to get your dick wet, then that is a awful perspective to have. Like, it's not the way you treat things. It's not the way you treat relationships. If you go into a relationship with something, I know I'm trying to Dr. Phil shit here right now, but I probably have more credibility than Dr. Phil because I don't say you guys have a problem. I'm just saying you can't view women as simply just a tool for sex. But even if you don't view it as that way and you really are deeply connected to somebody, the fact of the matter is, though, it has to be a mutual thing or it's never going to work out. I've seen some horrible things happen to non-mutual relationships.
Okay, going off of that, this is not as much of the movie as it is just us griping. But
at the same time, it goes back to
in the movie. Yeah, it's the message.
To this idea.
It's the tone of the movie.
I'm glad they had that
these guys
bit at the end
with the formula are acting as just chauvinistic, just terrible people.
The more they use it, the worse they get.
Not in the fact that they are using this for their own personal gain. Fine, whatever. People are selfish. It's the fact that even the message of the movie says, we can figure out women.
Yeah.
That's like the whole thing. It's like that women, and I know it's a comedy and it's supposed to be played for laughs, but even then, it's a bit of a touchy subject that we're not exactly going to stay on. But the other side of that is when they're not using the formula, they are completely being played on both sides. There was, the one guy, Graham, he's in a relationship with this girl who says, like, look, we're not dating. That's just it. But she continues to have sex with him, continues to make him buy her stuff, continues to, like, essentially be in his life for personal gain.
Ain't saying she's a gold digger.
Exactly. She's just trying to make her life better by stringing this guy along. And even if you say, we're not in a relationship, you can't do that and then do the things that relationships do. The other character, he is seeing this girl for a month, doing just everything. Like, according to this, he spends more time with the girl during that month than he does at home. And he says to her, he comes up to her one day and he's like, look, we've been going at it for a while now, and I was just hoping, maybe we can make something more official than just hanging out. And she's like, look, I think you're a really great guy. I was like, bitch!
Okay, but the way that she just goes right from that, it's going like from 0 to 60. Like, I'm like, yeah.
60 to 0.
Yeah, basically. It's like, I'm like, the way that she's behaving and the way that the body chemistry is and all that kind of stuff and all the scenes leading up to that, and then all of a sudden she retracts, and also when he tries to give her a hug, it's really awkward. Yeah, I get the hug part after being the dismissed part. I get that. But at the same time, though, nothing she did ever alluded to the fact that she was doing nothing but leading him on.
Right. Now, she did say that she didn't like him. She said she wasn't looking for anything serious.
He should have responded simply, well, let's just keep it casual.
Right, and that's what they chose to do at the end, and which is good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. But
he had to learn.
Yeah.
He had to realize.
I don't know, I guess
and he literally says in the scenes, like, did I just get friend zoned? You never say that to a girl's face. Oh my God, no.
That's step one in your formula right there. Never say friend zone to a girl's face.
Yeah, seriously. Like,
all right.
Even if it's the fact of the matter is and whatnot, you keep that bullshit to yourself.
So I had a problem.
Be a man.
I had a problem with them when they were chauvinistic, but I liked their confidence. And I had a problem when they were not as cocky, but at the same time,
being dicks.
They were completely confidence-less. Like, they didn't believe in themselves at all, which was a problem too. It needs to be a balance. You can be confident in yourself.
Well, at the very end, they kind of have that middle ground that they achieve.
Graham becomes...
So I guess that's their characterization build. They go to the extremes and then go to the middle.
Exactly. Graham becomes a... Yeah, and their breaking point was that they were getting expelled from school because one tried to hit on the chairman's secretary.
Called him a dick.
And then one tried to hit on his wife.
Yeah. With him in the room.
With him in the room. Trying to prove that their formula works.
Yeah.
That is...
And they failed at that miserably, too.
Yeah, and that's when... Okay, we're wrapping this up now, but...
The formula itself.
The formula at a certain point just stops working.
And it doesn't work for everybody.
No, it seemed to work on everybody right up until...
It works with some guys. It doesn't work with some guys.
Yeah.
And but also, when they're just trying to go out and do, it didn't work on the secretary and the wife and whatnot.
But here's the thing.
But they were forcing it at that point.
It didn't work with their respective girlfriends.
The
ones they really wanted. It didn't work with them. But then immediately after that, it didn't work with the wife of the girlfriend. Or wife of the secretary.
Something's wrong. And they said something's off with the formula and whatnot. And they never figured it out. They just kind of dropped it.
After that, right after that scene, in fact, Quinn ends up sleeping with Amy, which is Graham's girlfriend, the one who's stringing him along.
Yeah. And
it's not said whether or not he used the formula together, but it still happened. Which makes you question, does the formula work? Does it not work? Is it certain people? It seems like...
it's too inconsistent.
I made the comment to Matt that, midway through, as soon as the formula stopped working, I was like, Matt, the formula didn't account for love.
And we actually thought that was actually the thing.
We thought that was going to be the thing.
But at the same time, it doesn't make sense for why it didn't work on their respective girls that they were going after in the first place.
Right. Well, no, that's the whole reason it didn't, because they loved them. Because there's one point where it's going through Quinn's mind.
Well, this has to be said. The last bit I have to really say before we start beginning wrap-ups here is the fact that this movie is this movie's been done a million times before in different forms. But this is the first time I've ever seen them try to use, mathematics / science to do this stuff. Because usually it's a magic spell or it's something and whatnot. But it comes from the idea called Love Potion Number 9. It started out as a song and whatnot. But at the same time, love potions, that type of idea. Just this magical thing that just will bypass all the effort of getting someone to fall in love with you.
And that's the weird thing. Throughout the movie, it seems to get easier and easier for them to do.
Yeah.
It starts out with, they go through all the motions. They're like, this is what you have to do, followed by this, followed by this, followed by this. He's pulling up, calculus in his head. But then, at one point, they're just walking down the street. He just grabs someone, kisses her, and walks away.
Slaps her ass and shit. Like he was in, a 50s work video.
And maybe that comes down to, there isn't a formula. All you needed was self-confidence.
But you also became douchebags.
Yeah, so fuck you guys.
But, again, even though there was a scene that they were utter douchebags and totally broing out, still, that one really long shot was really well done. I enjoyed it. The one thing, though, was ridiculous that it was such a constant motion. They just go around, saying hi to people, taking shots and whatnot. Then all of a sudden they just grab two girls and just go off into rooms and fuck them. It just jumps from that point to that point, within the span of a few minutes. I'm like,
that's
their formula is working. It's so natural to them at that point that they're doing it subconsciously. I'm like, I wish I had that confidence.
All right, give your final thought.
Overall, whatnot, this movie had a lot of qualms and whatnot, but it was a bit of a frustrating sit at certain areas because of various reasons. But overall, I enjoyed it. This is actually the closest thing since Creature that we've watched that I enjoyed the movie a lot and whatnot. And that's been a long time because I don't even remember when we did Creature. That was way back. But overall, yeah, I can't really complain about the movie because, to be honest, actually, this movie had roughly the same amount of problems that my films do, and it's a lot funnier than my comedies. So, props to you guys and whatnot. You get a thumbs up.
Going into this movie, I fully expected to hate it because, like I said, it was at the bottom of the Netflix top rated for comedies. That's never a good sign. The bad comedy is the worst thing you can have.
Category.
Oh my god, you got to scroll for hours.
Just keep going.
But
you'll be about 2 months older by the time you get to the bottom.
But the problem that happened was that I can't tell if I didn't like them at the beginning because I actually didn't like them, or just because they didn't go into this movie with an open mind. Maybe that's a problem we're having with many of these movies. Maybe we're just not going into them with an open mind. But this one, it won me over very quickly with the jokes it was making. It started off obnoxious, but then got better over time. And I did look at some of the Netflix reviews, and it seems like the biggest problem is that they're really selling the sex side of this. And there was nothing. There wasn't a single boob in this whole movie. I think they say the word.
No nudity.
They say the word vagina like 4 times, and that's the
We
most.
see diagrams.
You see diagrams. You see one like Playboy pinup model when they flip the page, but besides that, that's really all there was, and that's not. Maybe people were disappointed more than they were upset with the film. As a
I wanted more smut.
which is a common complaint from us.
Yeah, but this
This
time
was
I
okay.
was fine.
When it came down to this movie, the comedy was really, it was, I'm not going to say great. It's not constant laughter.
No.
I was a bit at times.
There's a lot of incredulous laughter. We had like, come on.
But when it hit it right on the head. The characters, there was no one character that I pointed at and said, why are you here?
Why is your thing?
I looked at them, and everyone had their moments, everyone in both sides of the scale. They were all I am rambling. All over, it was very decent to good. And oddly enough, I would recommend giving it a watch. Because it was...
Support indie films.
It was decent. It was very, very decent. And on a show called Shit Flicks, that's kind of hard to come.
That's a pretty high bar.
It is. So,
We're usually down here.
the formula. It hit the formula.
Hit the phone.
We're done, right? We can just end there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Oh, not if I take this here.
Sure.
Okay. Hello. Yo, what's up, girl? Yeah, you got my voicemail? Yeah.
No, David.
So I was just wondering,
David, seriously.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. Yeah, I was just wondering if
Especially
you,
that
if you
chapter.
wanted
No,
to.
no.
Hey, I am trying to get laid here. You back off. Yeah, I was just wondering if you were down this Saturday. I will cut you. If you wanted to suck my dick. Hello.
All the bad boys want some more, it's tricky. And girls enjoy, they feel so lucky. Loving it quits running out that door. Calling their mom while they lick the floor. All the funky monkeys got them walking stores. They're lost out and rolling like a rapper core. Who can believe that there would be some gold with those worms like I said before?
My mom never says goodbye.